maybe she's just running late.
She must be, she knows her feet, right? Good evening. Today is September 16th, 2021, 7 o'clock. This is the Village of Vernon Village Board meeting. I will call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance and a standing moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We will start with roll call and open meeting law compliance check.
President Carl Fortner.
Present.
Trustee Jim Slawney.
Present.
Trustee Dan DeGrave. Trustee Lorene Dashik.
Present.
Trustee Marie Kumershek is walking in the door. She's good. And note for the record also that the village treasurer, Terry Winarski, is here. Mr. President, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Village Hall to businesses within the Village of Vernon on the Village of Vernon's website. You are in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Okay, thank you. If the board is so inclined, as I am, we'll move the Waukesha County Sheriff up the agenda and hear his report if there is anything. Or if we have, I don't think we have any questions, but word, deputy. We don't have. Doesn't have anything, okay? Nothing. I got nothing. Get back to work. And the board members? Nothing? Okay, we'll move, thank you. We'll do our proclamation for Tom Hensiak first, and then we'll get to Terry's, if we can move Terry up too, and get his report. Thank you. So first item, 5A, is Tom Hensiak, recipient of the Firefighter Paramedic of the Year Award for the Mukwonago Rotary Club. Unfortunately, Tom is out of town tonight, but I would like, on behalf of the Village of Vernon, we are pleased to give Tom this proclamation as our recognition of his Mukwonago Rotary Club's Firefighter Paramedic of the Year Award and our acknowledgement of his service with the Vernon Fire Department. A little bit on Tom. Tom joined the Vernon Fire Department in 2020 after retiring from a 30-year career full-time career at the Franklin Fire Department. He immediately immersed himself in the Vernon Fire Department and was voted the Vernon Fire Department's Firefighter of the Year in his very first year he was eligible. I understand Tom, this has been backed up by members of the fire department, does everything he is asked to do, as well as everything else, from pulling weeds in the flower beds to inspecting equipment, to learning Vernon and Waukesha protocols. Most importantly, Tom takes the time, some of it unpaid, to mentor and share his experience and knowledge with our younger firefighters and paramedics to improve the level of service in our fire department. As if Tom was here, I'd call him the newest, oldest kid on the block, and he's done a tremendous job. So again, on behalf of Vernon and its residents, congratulations to Tom Hensiak. Accepting reward. Thank you. Thank you.
Pass it along. Light up the name and put it on my phone.
There you go. Thanks, Justin.
All right, you guys have a good night.
Yep. And if we could deviate, we'll move Terry up and do his treasurer's report earlier, and we can get Terry on his way unless we need to keep him for something, and I'm not sure what that would be on the agenda.
I distributed a copy to everyone this evening. So this is up to date as of the end of August. The CD information, there won't be any interest showing until maturity for each one.
But the maturity dates are there, I see, and the interest rate. And that's net of fees, the interest rate is being shown, okay.
Yes.
Terry, I noticed that in the accounts payable, there's
There c-
Normally they take that out of this, the money, sorry, Terry, normally they take that out of the money before they deposit it, but we deposited it so fast, they didn't get their money. So that's why they invoiced us. That's in the contract.
So is that the difference between that interest rate and the interest rate we're going to end up with?
No, those are the clean deposits he put in. And, I'm sorry, trustee DeGrave, what's going to happen is for accounting purposes, we're going to actually split. Right now, it's the whole deposits in there. But when we were looking at our update for finance, we're going to split those amounts into a category for the roads and a category for capital. And then the revenues and expenditures will also have categories related to those bond accounts. So you'll see that in your August, I'm going to amend that, the August trial balances.
What I'm asking about is just the interest.
Yeah, he haven't gotten any.
CD, or we open the CDs, correct?
Yes, and open the CDs for the principal amount as shown on your schedule.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So there's a fee plus they get a commission on the difference in the rate. Is that-
No, they charge a placement fee for placing the CDs, and it's based on the interest rate that they achieve for us. And the interest rates, that's why I asked on your report, Terry, the interest rates that you're showing, and it does say it, it says net rate, and it's, and the net means net of the placement fees.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. And so on our records, what we'll, and it's in the payables and it's in their contract that, so we will pay them a placement fee for these CDs, and then when we actually receive the interest, we're going to keep all of the interest and show it
Yes.
as interest, and the rates will, of course, be higher and the amounts will be higher, which will cover, their placement fees and then some.
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks, I just wanted to understand it because I saw that in the payables.
Right. Questions, and just as point of comparison, I know it's probably right on that bank statement. What are we earning on our main checking account again? It was .15, then it was .14, and now it's, I know it's right on the statement, I should have looked. You've got the bank statement in here? .15, I see it, in our main account. Yeah, that's the big one. That's the one I'm concerned about.
And the rates for the other accounts are based upon the value of that account itself.
Right, right, so, yeah, like, because they're cash deposit accounts, like the US Cellular account and the Cricket account, they're paying basically 0.01%.
Correct.
And it's a cash balance too. Cash deposit is security for their pledge to take their equipment off our towers when they terminate. So it's sitting there, basically. Yeah, parks are, yeah. Right, tax collection is our minimum deposit. LifeQuest, and on LifeQuest, Terry, I know we are moving money into our main account to capture the interest, higher
Correct.
interest rate there, more on a regular basis now.
Yeah, we'll do that probably the end of each month.
Okay. Okay, questions for Terry, Dan?
Gary, on the deposits for the main account, is that all revenue that came in for the month? The 491,000?
Most of it's from the county.
Tax settlement, so it would be tax revenue, yes.
They collect after January, they collect and whatever, then they have to pay us.
Right, the final property tax is due for the residents July 31st, and then the county settles up and pays Vernon its share, so
All of that, 491,000?
I wouldn't say all, but
There was, payment from the state also.
yeah, didn't we get our shared revenues in
Sometimes in November, sometimes in August.
August? She's looking in the accounting. It's an accounting question, not a bank cash deposit question.
Yes.
No.
Is it all
Well,
revenue,
it's-
is it transfers?
That's 361 is county. Yeah, that was the big, and then the transfer from LifeQuest of 84,000. We transferred money from LifeQuest into the main checking account. The 84,000 is a LifeQuest transfer.
Right, if you look at your bank statement, that's probably the August 31, I got it in your report. You can see the deposits. So 361 is from Waukesha County, 84 is a transfer from LifeQuest, and LifeQuest is a special account that we set up to receive money, on the ambulance, EMT, private pay, and third-party payers, and reimbursements, and so on. So those are the two big numbers, 361 and 84. 84 is coming from, a transfer, but it's revenue in the first instance. Good? Questions, more questions?
I think I'll send to you an email and just give you my thoughts on what I guess what I'd like to see as far as we've got a certain amount of deposits. I'd like to know what that money is. Where's that deposit, where's that revenue coming from? Because we don't really see that anywhere else in the financial statement. And then also on the disbursements. If we've approved certain disbursements at our meetings, what else haven't we approved? And then I have.
Okay.
I'll send you. Thanks.
Other questions? Terry, you got anything more for us?
I do not.
All right, well,
Yeah, Tuesday.
see you Tuesday evening.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, Tuesday evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Back to our regular agenda then. Item 5, letter B. This is the cost estimate to codify 15 ordinances. Trustee Solani had a question last meeting regarding codification and the ordering of codification and whether we could miss or skip codifying a particular ordinance if it was going to be changed, subsequently changed.
Yeah, I was concerned with the term town in quite a few of those, what seemed to be quite a few of the ordinances, when we're now a village. And now we're gonna have to recodify them to change it to the term village, or can we just change it now and codify them that way?
Okay, we did ask Attorney Macy that question, and his recommendation was to codify them. Sorry, I'm not talking, is that better? Okay. We did ask Attorney Macy that, his recommendation was to codify them anyway and then change them subsequently. But we did look, Karen and I did look at the ordinances that are up for codification for the word town, and there isn't any.
Right.
So there is going to be no duplication there regardless.
No. They're not up for codification because of the change. They're up for codification for other changes, but they still say town of Vernon in them.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Do we have an example of one? Well, we tried to look. We couldn't find one.
Well, I went through them on what you have posted on the website, and I didn't look in her proposal, that just came to today. Look on the website and have, not, I don't know how many have the word town in them, Town of Vernon.
The only one that I see is 2020-02. The other ones are all B,
Right.
1B, 1A, B.
You're looking at the numbers that you guys assign to them, as opposed to the actual ordinance and what it says in the ordinance itself.
No, we did, first of all, we identified, well, I'll tell you what I did, Jim. Okay. I looked through the list and looked for the ones that were adopted as a town. So they start with, T, and there's one, 2020-02. I looked at that ordinance, and I didn't see any inside the ordinance, not the big document, just the ordinance, just the language that they're going to codify. No, the word town was not used in that. I can double check it if you'd like. But all the other ones are village. There's two that are not going to be codified because one is we don't codify ordinances that change our maps because we don't codify our maps. So one town ordinance 2019-06 is a comprehensive master plan changes. That won't be codified. And the other is the zoning map amendment in 2020-01. So let me see if I can get there quick. You're going there too, Jim, I assume? Whoops, I went too fast. Pending codification. Right. While we're looking, my question though, I did have one question. We see charter ordinance on there, 2020-02. What about Charter Ordinance 2020-01? Oh, is that on there, in there already? Oh, that could be. I didn't go and check. Okay, what am I looking for?
Now, one of the ones, I just
Here
went
it
to the
is,
first
right
one that I saw, under new laws, where did
Yep.
it be codified?
Yep,
T 2019-06.
that is the comprehensive master plan
Yeah.
ordinance. That is not going to be codified.
Okay, then it shouldn't be on the list perhaps. I don't know what we do with it when it.
Well, yeah, that, oh, and the list on the, website. Okay,
And then what about ordinance 2020-01?
same, that is the zoning map amendments, and that will not be codified either.
Okay, that's another one that starts out Town of Vernon.
Right.
See what this one is. It's on there twice. Part of the charter ordinance, now that one says village on it.
Sure, that was our first one.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah, that is in the codification, oh, no, that's virtual meetings.
Now, why did you say those aren't going to be codified?
The maps,
Yeah, those type of ordinance are never, they're not part of a code. They're
Well, it's an ordinance, not just a map.
No, it's an ordinance because by state statute, whenever you make those changes, they have to be done by ordinance, but it's not an ordinance you would codify. It's not a law. It's a change to a map or an amendment to a map or amendment to a land use map or.
Then it should just be put in our standard ordinances, not in the new ones to be codified, I would think.
Yeah, they're not going to be
You know that, but
It
nobody else
says,
would have.
it says legislation not, oh, you mean on the website?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we'll add that
You know what I mean?
legislation not to be codified.
Because if we've already proved them and they don't have to be codified, then they should just go in our standard set of ordinances, wouldn't they?
They are in our ordinance book, but they're not part of our codified ordinances, yes, but they're part of our ordinances.
So they shouldn't be in that section on the website then, where we say new ones that we're gonna codify, right?
Yeah, the only reason we put it in there is when we talk to developers or land use planners and they need to say, well, when did that change? I can point them to that new law and they can see when the village board changed that.
Well, you can always see that no matter where you put the ordinance.
Not if it's not on a map. Not if it's not published anywhere. The only place it's published is,
In our standard set of ordinances is what I would say.
it doesn't go in our standard. The land use map, those two,
That's exactly what I asked the first time.
and you said, didn't you say no also? That those, the T 2019-06 and T 2020-01 are legislation, they are ordinances, but they're not ordinances that are codified.
They're ordinances, but we don't put them in our ordinance, standard set of ordinances, you said.
That is correct.
I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else.
Because it refers to a zoning amendment or a land use amendment, it changes the map, but it doesn't change the ordinance.
Put them with the zoning ordinances then. I don't, it just doesn't seem right what we're doing there.
Maybe John could explain it better at staff.
Yeah, I can't explain it either. That's what John said. But I think what you're getting, well, in part what you're getting at, as I understand it, is we need to put it somewhere or call it something so that it's
Right.
easily found, and it is, but put it somewhere so that it's in some category that can be found easily and refers to,
Yeah, my original
Maps or
concern was
something.
cost.
and not codification.
Right.
Right.
I didn't want to codify something that said town on it for us to have to go back and change it in the future.
Right, but there aren't any like that. The one in there, I just double checked it, doesn't have the word town. Because these other two that do have the word town are not gonna be codified.
And you can see the chapter that it affects under the new laws. So maybe I can ask E-code, because E-code actually puts this up. I can ask them to indicate that, a disclaimer that affects the master plan or land use plan, not a specific chapter in the code.
Are they the one that puts it in that list?
Yes,
And are they the ones then that determine whether it gets codified or not?
yes, and state statutes, yes.
All righty then.
Yeah, I see that, they are both under, on the website, both under pending codification, as opposed to maybe some other descriptive term.
Right.
Right, because that is a good point, Jim, to let people know that it is an ordinance. The village board did made a change to the comprehensive land use plan and change to the zoning map. And appraisals call on that and, real estate people, but we'll put a different disclaimer so people know that it has no effect on one of our
In the
chapters.
past, we never would have seen that or had this issue because we were always just a town. So it was always,
Right,
whether they were codified in the past or not, we wouldn't even have noticed it.
right.
They would just be in that list. Now, when we're village, it stood out. Okay.
Okay. And in the proposal on Exhibit A, in the appendix, appendix, I guess it is called, it does say that there are those two that we.
Right, I read that today, but I didn't see or didn't understand why.
Now, on the other charter ordinance, 2020-01, I didn't see it on the list on the appendix. My question is, well, why isn't it there? And in our ordinances, there is a little, I don't know what it's called, but there's a little mark by saying that there's a new law that's affecting it. But I didn't see, it's like a little scroll with a ribbon on it.
Yeah.
I guess it's called, under town board, which is really what that first charter ordinance goes to, setting up 7 trustees to 5, number of seats, staggered terms, all of that. And I don't know if that ever got codified, if that little ribbon with the little, that little scroll. Yeah.
What about
So we
1A?
might have to add that.
There's another one, 1A.
Yeah, 1A, I thought 1A is in there. 1A is on the list to codify.
Well, that's weird.
Okay. So other than that, we're looking, we do have money on the we have money in the budget. We were planning on doing it. We're up to 15, I guess. It does make ordinances somewhat difficult to read because you got to look at the ordinance, oh, there's a change, and go and see how it was changed and so on. So, and, some of the newer ones, the wetlands, shorelands, are brand new, getting added in. We never had them, so. So we're looking for approval of the cost estimate and authorize the village president to proceed with a cost not to exceed. We want to, have a, trying to think if we want to go ahead and pass that, and then Karen and I check on the charter ordinance and add it, or we could table it and take it up next time.
Have an actual written,
Estimate on
Right.
there, with that in there.
right. Should we do that? Table to next meeting?
Yeah, do we have the funds in the budget for this year to do this?
Yes.
Yeah. Because then our not to exceed would be the budget amount, right?
Oh, you don't want to go that high. We have a lot more
Well,
than
I mean,
that.
Whatever you got budgeted,
Yeah. But if you don't mind, I just want to double check on those charter ordinances just to make sure that they're perfect. So if the board wouldn't mind tabling this to the next board meeting, just to make sure that,
Right, there is no great rush, although
No.
we'd like to get them,
No, it's
just get them going.
just
That's
a matter of getting some of those off the,
right, out of the pending or the codification list, right. Okay, so
because we
if,
can't,
Yep.
excuse me, we can't hold people's feet to the fire on those that aren't codified yet, right?
nope, they're law. Once you adopt
Oh.
them, they're law. We just refer to them in the ordinance fashion, not the C1A 4(2) where we can do once they're codified, but we can say, here is the law. Once you pass it and it's posted, it becomes, so there's no huge rush. It's just nicer from a identification standpoint. If there has to be a citation or if somebody's cited for something, you can take them right to the ordinance number, the paren,
yeah, and they're easier to find for the
Right.
residents and board members, attorneys,
Right.
developers, whoever is looking through our code. They're just easier to find if they're all codified.
Right.
So Karen, which ones do you want to look at?
We're just going to, Carol and I are just going to check we just want to make the charter ordinance, everything else is here. Carol and I just want to bring this back to the board with an actual proposal, a cap with something that Carl signs that the board approves. And so if the board wouldn't mind tabling it to the next the board meeting, just so we can double check that those 2 charter ordinances and exhibits are correct before the board approves this proposal.
So move.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Is there a second? I'll second the motion to table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we're tabled there. Next item up, authorize the village zoning and planning administrator, that would be Sean Malarkey and Foth, to update zoning ordinance amendments as presented on June 3, 2021, at a cost not to exceed $10,450. This would just be full time, not legal time. It's going to take the full team some time at that price to update these zoning ordinances. And then we'll look at our legal budget and see if we can get started on the legal review. If not, we'll have to do it early next year. So you've got everybody back in June. It came out of the Plan Commission as well. The Plan Commission, of course, we recommended that they all be done, pending, budget constraints. And if we have to order them because of a budget constraint, then we would, the priority list. But I think we have enough in our budget
To get Sean going?
to get Sean going, at least.
Now, the planning commission did not go through all of these and agree or say what needed to be changed, right?
He's going to bring it back, Jim.
But we didn't go through it the first time for him to know what we want him to change.
A lot of these you did. You did talk about 144 and 125 building construction and
We talked about a couple of them, but like the sign one jumped out at me. We've talked about it, that it needs to be redone, but we never said what we wanted to redo on it.
what you kind of talked about is when the Citizens Bank sign came in, you had pretty lengthy discussion about that.
Yeah, that one, because it was an off-premise
Right,
sign.
right.
That was that issue, but that isn't,
Yeah, and typically what happens, Jim, is throughout this whole code, Vince and Sean and I, if there's issues, we circle them, and so we know where there's got to be a change. And then you see the legal opinions that John gave previously in regards to some of the other changes that need to be made. And what Sean would do is bring it to get these changes all made and explain to you why with track changes, who made them and why, and then bring it to the Planning Commission. The Plan Commission would work at it and then bring it to the village board.
Right, I would think the Plan Commission, for example, on the signs, Sean would say, well, he'd have a recommendation, here's what other communities do, what does Vernon want to do? And the Plan Commission would make a recommendation to the board. Before he actually finalizes the language, if there's substantive, we don't want him to draft and draft and draft. If there's substantive issues that he needs to resolve, I think he's going to the idea would be he'd bring it to the Plan Commission for a recommendation to the board. But,
clearly some issues are due to
right,
changes
Right.
in other laws.
Right.
And those he would be most knowledgeable on.
right. And those he would make and let us know what he's doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you also talked about the Clum sign. Remember that 5-star sign that came in so pretty, but they couldn't submit the nice sign because our ordinance wouldn't allow it? And the Plan Commission had lengthy discussion on that. So, that's only two perspectives.
Yeah, we had a discussion on that specific to that issue.
Right.
But we didn't really address the change to the
Right.
ordinance.
That is correct.
That's true.
And at first glance, when I look at this, like $1,800 to change the sign ordinance. Seems like an awful lot for only a couple minor, the banner sign issue, that's, okay, that's a fairly simple change to articulate in
Right.
there, if we decide what we want to say, it just seemed like a lot. And are we giving him carte blanche to go change whatever ordinances he wants to, and then come back and have a meeting after he's already done a lot of the work, for us to say one way or the other? That just seemed like putting the horse on the wrong side of the cart a little bit,
Maybe at the next Plan Commission meeting too, you could discuss signs a little bit, because the Big Bend Elementary sign came into play, not so much the illuminated electric sign, but the Big Bend Elementary is not conforming. So, and then the Vernon Lutheran Church, there's 4 areas of signage since I've been here. But that's something he really could hold off and talk to the Plan Commission at the next meeting. At least have discussion about it.
So I may be the only one that had questions on it. I don't want to hold stuff up, just because.
Remember how crabby Carl was with the Citizen Bank sign? You're not holding it up, Jim.
Yeah, yes,
I'm sorry, Carl wasn't
right,
crabby.
the sign, modifications to the sign ordinances, I think part of the reason why that's so high is he's anticipating there's gonna be discussion. I don't think Sean intends to go off on his own on that one anyway. Some of these others where he's got a legal memorandum and says this is how it should be changed, well, those I think he can
Those-
go ahead and change. It's that one, and the other one I circled was, and we have talked about eliminating chapter 144, putting it in chapter 300. That in and of itself is not so bad, but there's, landscaping, architecture, and letter of credit. The letter of credit provisions do need a lot of work as well. They're defective, and he's got 3,500 for that one. And I think that one's going to take some work too, because it's going to take some plan commission and perhaps board input on what they should read, substantive, not how the exact legal wording, but the substantive policy that we're going to.
Because I would think
Say.
that's almost more a legal issue, more a Macy issue than it would be a planner issue. I didn't question that one
Okay.
because I didn't have any opinion one way or the other on it, to even,
Right.
Great, I mean, the attorney is going to, and does,
Yeah.
but he refers it into the ordinance to say what our ordinance says, and then,
no,
So I suppose, well, let me just think about this. If we approve the go-ahead to Sean to update it, I would think the first step is Sean's going to identify the areas that he needs to be put on a plan commission agenda for discussion before he starts writing
Vince.
something down.
yeah, I'd almost think he'd make a list of what needed to be changed by ordinance and then ultimately hand that list over to some minion in his office to actually go ahead and do that. I don't know if he has one or not, but I'm just assuming he would.
and I would like
Maybe
you,
asking him for a list of proposed changes, even at a high level,
and Vince too, you want to see the issues that Vince is having with the code also. That's important for the village board to understand where he's coming from as the building inspector. If he's finding deficiencies or
Right.
inconsistencies, you should know about that also. Now, Vince his won't be out unless we type it up for him, but what he'll do is he'll
I
point it
know.
out in the,
Fix this, fix that. Which is fine. I mean, just so he identifies it.
Right.
so would it be easier if the village, if this was deferred one more time back to Plan Commission, Jim and Carl, before you bring it back to the board?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know or think that it has to go to the plan commission. I'd be more interested in just knowing what he's gonna do for this money.
Right, right.
And then maybe that comes to the plan commission, for the final approvals of the changes.
Well, I know he's gonna, they'll show that to you and all the track changes,
Oh, yeah, he'll show us every single change.
right? And I know he'll import all of John's
Yes.
legal non-conforming uses and, pending legal issues that have to be updated.
What's the motion we got on the floor?
There is no motion.
There is no motion.
Just trying to figure
I
out
thought we
how
already
best to.
had a motion, so we could go to the discussion.
No, we discuss it first, so in case we have to table it or send it back. I mean, so I suppose one thing we could do is send it back to the plan commission, although I don't know if that's such a good
Yeah, I don't
idea. Another thing we could do is table it for further information from Sean about how he's going to proceed, I suppose, in particular with signage and I would say also chapter 144 and the substantive changes that Vince and
Right,
he and the plan commission already have identified
as problems.
as problems.
Well,
Or we could just, I suppose, go ahead and authorize him to get started and then, you know, I'm sure he'll, if we call him, he'll say, oh yeah, that's what I intended to do,
Right.
you know.
May I suggest that we authorize him to get started? And what we'd like him to do in order of precedence is to give us a list of the ones that are statutory. Go ahead and get them
Get him done.
changed and then present them to us. The ones that are not straight statutory, like the sign one or
Right.
any other ones,
Policy.
that he just give us a list or comments so he can go ahead and start working on them, but to prepare some lists of what changes he's anticipating or thinking about. And then, you know, at one of our planning commission meetings.
So I said identify or list the substantive issues that need to be addressed by the plan commission
Yeah.
slash
Yeah.
board, I suppose.
Yeah,
Board's gonna have final say-so
right, either way, but
on, in this or any ordinance, board gets final say-so. So,
because I know the planning commission for the most part has already said, yeah,
yeah, we need to get these
we
fixed.
need to get these changed.
And the plan commission already is, you know, like when we have, everything has to be surfaced. Well, there has been some deviation, quite a few deviations in regards to the entire parking lot, you know, because of building construction issues. The architectural control was drafted 25 years ago, and you know, Jim, building standards have changed so much, so,
Well, materials and
Right.
everything else have changed, yeah.
Where did I was just reading about the changes in some of the laws that are going to affect this stuff, where now the state has come down and said, yeah, you can go ahead and rebuild that non-conforming building. Whereas before, the law said you couldn't. If it was non-conforming, you really couldn't remodel it, replace it.
You could
By
fix
state
it, but you
statute.
can't replace it, right.
You know,
you can't make it any bigger.
now you can.
Over,
Now they're saying you can you can do whatever your little heart desires as long as now what you do meets standards. Whereas before, it was like hands off, you couldn't touch it.
and most of them don't meet standards, Jim,
Yes.
but,
But that's gonna change how we do some of our variances, some of the law changes that just
Right.
came into effect.
Okay, so, what do you think, Jim? We should go ahead and authorize?
Yes, I would make that motion that we authorize them to proceed based on, you know, some of the comments.
At a cost not to exceed.
He gave us cost estimates here.
Hopefully they'll come in less.
450?
Yep,
Usually he comes under,
yeah,
Jim Crow.
Yeah.
don't jinx it. Okay, I will second that. Any further, Jim and I have had all the discussion, sorry. Well, we're on the plan commission, so it's coming out of the recommendation of the plan commission. So, and plan commission's gonna tackle it first before it hits the board the best we can. Not to say that the board isn't gonna be asked for input ahead of finalization, which is probably what's going to happen as to the substantive issues. So, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up. Approve and authorize the village president to sign the Waukesha County Property Tax Assessment and Billing Contract. Macy's only comment is policy decision. Please include whether legal review is required. I would say this is the standard contract they give to everybody,
They're not gonna change.
and they're not gonna change it. It is, well, Macy and I had a conversation on how it could be drafted better, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be.
Corp council's not very friendly to
Right.
Tell me about it.
Not necessarily the way I would like to see it drafted. And you saw the rate increases. They're, 3-4 cents a year. Keeps going up.
I just thought it'd be good to see both the old and the new.
Yeah, well, that's, yes. Yes, it's kind of, they charge per parcel. It's still $1.72 and $1.77 the following year. Per parcel. Which isn't, we can't do it for cheaper, so there's no way.
We can't do it.
We can't do it at all. So,
Now, again, this is for our planner to do these changes?
This is the county treasurer printing and mailing the tax bills.
Village zoning and planning administrator.
We are-
Update.
and we're on letter D. D is in Delta.
Oh, we didn't do C.
Yeah, we did. We just did it.
That's why I was asking that. Okay, printing the tax bills. I'll make that motion to approve that.
Approve and authorize.
Approve and authorize.
Did you say that too, Marie? I thought I heard you say that.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Approve and authorize village president to sign the revise with a Z web service contract. And I'll turn this over to the clerk administrator.
We have a proposal, as you can see, the old revised contract was from 2015. If you go on our website on a phone, it's almost doesn't work. So the question is, if we do have the money, the $2,300 to revise the contract, the website, and I did contact McGuanago High School to see if one of the high school students would be interested. I thought it'd be cool to do shots of the kids playing flag football up above, or the golf courses, and fly over the Vernon Marsh. So when they're looking at our website, instead of having that stagnant picture, it shoots all different, portions of the village. It'll be, changed so that it's more user-friendly. It'll be totally compliant. It'll be ADA compliant, which our website currently isn't right now. So that's why we brought it to you.
And I know some have had comments, or some critical, some not, or friendly, about how that website can be improved, so
And
this
it's-
would be your opportunity to get it improved.
And it's old, you can see.
Well, yes, it is old. And these are the people that did it before. It looks like they, I don't know, specialize, but they do municipal websites, so they're familiar with
Right.
some of the rules, different rules that a commercial entity doesn't have to follow as far as their websites go.
Unless the board knows of someone they'd rather use, I just thought it'd be neat to use a high school student in the photography class with a drone. But if the board doesn't like that, we could, if somebody has a friend that has a drone, or, I just thought it would be cool to have it, zoom in and zoom up, and,
Yeah, get better pictures.
The initial reason that you had posted in here, I thought, was because it doesn't work on cell phones, basically.
that's one reason, yeah.
That's the first I've heard of that, by the way. Secondly, it wasn't designed to work on cell phones, it's a different operating system.
Right.
It was designed, and it's not just because it's old that it doesn't work on cell phones, it just never was designed to work on a cell phone.
That is correct, sir.
Will
You
this
know-
one be designed? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes, according to that.
Yes.
Okay.
That it actually would work. You gotta format it differently for the browser technology that's being used, which is part of the operating system and the like. So for that reason, cell phone use, I would not necessarily be in favor of spending any money to do it just to make it work
Right,
on
yeah.
cell phones.
Yep.
I use it every day to look at documents and things of that nature which you can't read on a cell phone anyhow. You shrink this down to a 3x5 and you
Yeah, I
can't
was just
read the
gonna
little
say.
numbers, you know.
Talk to a 30-year-old.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember what the age group was, but they said teenagers tonight on television spend 9 hours a day on their cell phone.
Or tablet, yeah, I agree.
9 hours. Think of what we could accomplish in this world if we got rid of that damn things. They also said that wasn't practical either, but, you know.
Depends
But
on
for
what they're
that
doing.
reason, I would be against doing this. For upgrading it, making it user-friendly, things of that nature. Technology has changed so much in 5 years that there's a lot of functionality that we don't have that we could have.
Right.
One thing that concerned me a little bit in their proposal was it sounded like they were proposing interactive user sending us information back, which isn't legal. You're not supposed to do that.
We don't do that through our website. We have another company that Ameriscan does that portion of our interaction.
Yeah, but in that proposal, it sounded to me like that they were actually proposing that functionality.
Yeah, they do not. They work with Ameriscan, the company that we subcontract, and all municipalities subcontract. Most websites, like you said, Jim, do not do
Well,
that.
it's not legal to do it on
Right,
your website.
right.
For why, I don't know. I mean,
Right. But Ameriscan does that for us, and anybody that uses Revise, that's the vendor they use for that
So you're
distribution.
saying they would be automatically just using
Ameriscan, yes.
Ameriscan? Okay. But those were my only two real concerns.
So one-time
Yes.
fee, and what happens if the system goes down or we have problems with it, they don't charge to fix it?
No, that's included in that fee. That's there's the $2,300 for the new, and then there's a yearly maintenance we pay every year. And that includes making sure, because that one time that Jim couldn't get into his packet, something funky went wrong. I think Tammy spent an entire day with Revise relinking everything. I mean, they do have issues. I mean, it isn't perfect.
It's still funky and I found out today, I went back into the packet again today, and I just shut down my computer, even though I was logged into our special,
Uh-huh.
and then I couldn't get back in again. When I opened up my computer here, you know, not again. But I realized that I was actually still logged in. So I logged out, and then I was able to get back in. So something in the process, if you shut your computer down, is messing up the link to bring you back into the packet that I was trying to get to, you know? But upgrading it, making more interactive banners for announcements is, you know, that's pretty much standard stuff. You know, if you got, alerts, emergency alerts to get out, that's a fast way to do it. You can set your computer to accept alerts, so it'll just, if your computer's turned on, you'd automatically get that alert that you could send out from your website, through your website. Just like National Weather does. I did that for our Legion website.
That would be another reason to make sure it works with cell phones.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just against using cell phone for this application, but, you know, I have 4 computers at home. Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm messing around with these computers all day long.
How is Revise otherwise? Re-up them? Are you happy with their service?
There are hundreds of places that
Right.
do website design and stuff like that. And you find one that if you got a working relation with them,
Right.
there's nobody all that much better than the other guy anymore.
And the reason we went
Well-
initially was the cost. I mean, you can
Yeah.
spend, Jim,
Oh, yeah.
$20,000-$30,000 on somebody doing your website.
30 grand, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
See what you get. But yeah, I would recommend just staying with the company you got, that you're working with.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve and authorize the village president to sign the revised web service contract as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. We've talked about this before, and finance budgeting meetings, regarding, and board meetings, I think, regarding, new auditor. Our existing auditor is going to be retiring, as we understand it. And, this was, at our last meeting, by consensus, the board wanted to see sample RFPs for auditing services, so the clerk administrator has provided some for board input. I don't know that we're ready to go, but she's looking for board input, so.
Have we had an opportunity
Board
to
input.
talk with Howard to see what is,
He's on vacation, and I thought I'd wait till, see if the board, because this was just a draft and not meant for you to approve. But I would, if the board is so choosing to do this, I would talk to Howard tomorrow and see what his plans are.
yeah, because, I mean, if he's planning on doing this all of next year yet, then we probably don't have to do it anytime soon.
Yeah, he's doing the audit for 2020-21, so he would be working next year. But
But only till July if he only stops at 2021.
well, he would be only doing the audit. So if there's any other auditing issues, you'd have to have a new auditor or up Howard's contract for a year or two, or
Right, that's why I think we
Right.
need to know when he's
when
planning
what their plans are.
on these. Go ahead.
Yes, it ends, he's doing the auditing for 2020-21. So he'll be working, as Jim stated, into June of next year in regards to that. The board did a 3-year contract previously. And that's, right, and that's in your packet, Howard's contract, not Howard, Rotroff Jeanson's in there.
Right.
So, but if nothing else, it would be good for you guys to take a look at for the future, and then I could contact Howard in the interim to see what his and Mike Rotroff's plans are and get back to the village board. I just wanted to make sure I had the RFP done, so you guys could comment and say, oh, I'd change this, or,
Well, the one thing I didn't see in it is Howard does, I'll say, daily updates or changes in our system, journal entries or whatever during the year. And I'm not certain where that's covered in that contract. Because it really only addresses audit issues. Now, maybe what he's entering, when he's doing journal entries, it's because of things that he found in the audit, but I'm not certain, I don't know if we're paying extra for that service that he's doing now, but it's not covered in that contract, at least the way I read it.
I could put in the contract that, or the RFP that the auditor, could, I don't know if you want to require, because the auditor never does the journal entries. The auditor gives us the journal entries to do, but it's nice to have the auditor access ACS to look and review at things at any time he or she would want to.
You have said several times here that Howard did journal entries. By that, you have.
He's given me journal entries.
Well, that's just a little different than how I had heard, how I heard it. Okay? It sounded to me like he was actually doing journal entries in our system.
I don't think any auditor does that for, they give you
I
the,
wouldn't think they would. That's why I said it's not in that contract, and that's what I thought was going on.
no, yeah, he does not. He logs in, and he also logs into our website and looks at minutes and, but Howard, he doesn't charge for that, but he checks up on our minutes, he checks on if there's anything related to the budget. He logs into ACS, whenever he can't do anything, but he can look at everything.
Am I the only one that thought that he was actually making changes? Yeah.
Did Baker Tilly do did do your audit changes? Your trial?
Some, but we did most of
Oh, I've never worked for a company where the auditor always gives the journal entries and reviews them to make sure they're right, but they don't do them.
Well, yeah, I'm not arguing that. It's just that I thought it wasn't, we were doing something that wasn't covered in the contract for the future if that was our plan to do it.
And I do,
I'd argue the point that we shouldn't be doing that. But
and I do identify auditor A number, for my sake and his sake, because he's got a whole list on the audit, based upon his entries.
Right.
So like I said, what I'll do is I'll find out from Jim and Mike Howard and Mike, what's going on. But at least this gives you something to take back and look at, and like you said, Jim, add that language in, or,
Yeah.
Yeah, the item I saw that I wasn't sure covered would be, I know Howard does this. He reviews the annual budget, he reviews the publication notice, he reviews the levy limit calculation.
Yes, he does.
Which brought up,
Yeah.
and when I read that, it's like, now I'm on the levy limit calculation.
But Carl and board members, if you could, any things that you find in here, if you could give me your comments, at least they could update them that way whenever you're ready to go. That's what this was meant for, is, I don't like this, I'd add this, or clarify this, or, is that what you thought too, Carl, is, kind of a draft?
Yeah, that's what I thought this would be, like a working draft
Right.
Yeah.
to get it ready to go, because I think eventually we're going to need it.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's this year or next year, we are going to
Right,
need
right.
to go out and look for new auditors.
And just the fact that he's turning down business offered from North Prairie tells me it might be sooner than later.
Right.
Right.
Or he's being very selective on his clientele.
That could be too. Maybe he's only taking the good guys. I don't, who said that? But if you think that his partner is not going to stay in the business either, that's a,
You have a sidebar.
Karen, does anybody else make any journal entries in there? Because maybe I'm thinking of a different journal entry. I don't think it was from him, from our auditor. I thought it might have been from the company that works, that's your software program. Have they ever?
No.
Okay, how about the $200 bill for the lady from Texas that made a journal entry for you?
She didn't make any entries. She looks at where the issue is and tells me what to do, just like Howard does. I've only used her once since 2013.
And then, of course, they charge.
Yes, just like, what's that company that you used to have? That horrible, I can't even think what the name of it was. But that's they don't charge like the other company. I don't remember what the old software was, but you can call ACS, not the auditors, but like I said, I've only had to call her one time since 2013, but she doesn't make any entries.
Okay. Because that's what I saw on there. It was an amount. I didn't know that, who put it in. So they'll give you the information
Yes,
and you
yes,
put it
because
in.
I need to know.
Yeah.
Or whoever
right.
comes after me can look at that entry to see, even Howard's, they can look at, entries that he's made, or, it's good to see.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so, yeah. were you gonna say something?
I'll let it go this time. She just said,
Yeah.
entries that Howard made,
That's right.
Howard?
suggested.
Yeah. Yes. He gives me a
Yes.
paper trail. You know what I'll do is I will email you what Howard, what he gives me.
Well, it's just a misconception.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Howard, yeah, so this is a journal entry from Howard or Howard, yes, yeah. I'll have to clarify my statements
Yeah,
better.
I-
I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's, finally got around to asking.
Okay, so, let's see if we can move this one along. I hearing the consensus of the board, I think, is, and our clerk administrator, that the board members should send in their suggestions to the draft RFP so we can get it ready. And that Karen will be in contact with Howard, I think he's off this week, or, so, to get an update on the status of him personally and his firm, transition or succession plan, I guess, is really what we're looking to
Right.
hear, succession plan. And sure, we could even put this at one of our budget just to get an update, not to take action, just to get an update of where that stands at our finance and budget workshop, right? Part of the budget, right?
Yep.
Yes, it's the, our fee for our annual audit is part of the budget, so. Good by consensus? We don't need a motion for that. Everybody's saying yes, yes?
Yep.
Yes, okay. Good by consensus. Okay, Fall Vernon View newsletter, gotta keep going here. You've got a, I don't know, what is this? Very, very rough draft layout. And again, we're, a couple of things, looking for suggestions and things that should be included or deleted, I suppose, depending on how much room we have. But everybody's got samples. They're all, you can look back what the trustees have written in the past. And
I do not have anything substantial from Waste Management yet, and I refuse to put 3 different numbers per zip code. I'm asking Mike to get on that, to get a customer service number. Their calendars.
Post Mike's number. That'll get it done.
And I feel bad I forgot Floyd. And if board members want to, if they would like to add an article, let me know, then we'll just start
I
eliminating.
had said at our last meeting that I'd like to do something on shared services.
Yep,
And maybe after the next week or so, we'll actually have something that's
Right.
right about.
yeah, I'm kind of waiting to write anything until,
Yeah.
this would go out in November. It'd have to be done in October to be in the hands of the residents by November. So if board members could, I would need their articles by September 30th, if you could. Jim, do we have your picture?
Probably not.
We need your picture. I think we've got everybody else's, except for I don't think we have Jim's.
get your suggestions in, get your articles going, September 30.
Right, and if there's, based upon, if all board, we can move things around, but if, this is just a sample, but if we could get board members, their articles in by the 30th, at least you'd see something a little more concrete. And I know, Carl, you'll do your article too.
Right. Right, it should be shorter this time around than the prior articles.
But if there's something in there you don't like, let me know.
Yeah, we were,
No, this is not the old one. New updates. But these are articles that board members asked to have and so do residents. What do they pick up? Yes, we'll have a picture of Floyd. It was in his obituary. He's pretty young, but it's still his picture. So am I. Hack Pack.
That was the old county.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so I think we got everybody's marching orders, get in suggestions in. Get your articles in,
You don't have to worry about your picture, except for you, Jim.
Jim's picture. We got a picture for the firefighter of the year,
Yeah, yep.
short article for him. Okay, on to H, everyone. Record retention ordinance, here again. We've talked about this before. Ours is from when? 1985.
Right. And this was only meant for discussion, Carol?
Right. Yeah, the board wanted to see some samples.
We
Proceed.
don't really have this ordinance.
This one, chapter 70 is our ordinance?
Chapter 70.
Yeah, I know, I've read it several times. But it doesn't say, it's not written like an ordinance as far as how we do ordinances.
You mean the changes? No, because I didn't know if you, my goal was to see if, what you thought of the suggested changes. And the attorney. Did you get any comments from John? I mean, it's not written how I would take it the next step, but I don't know.
No, I didn't get any suggestions.
But this would have to be approved by the State Historical Society? Once John would get done with it?
Yeah, it will be somewhat of a process. We should do our draft here and make substantive policy decisions as we identify them. And then it goes to legal review, but the State Historical Society has to look at it too. Because if, on a record retention, if we're destroying records, they can get them.
Right.
They might request them and we'll send them there instead of destroying them. So, unlike a private business that, after 7 years, we start shredding stuff, and unless it's these 5 items, then we keep them forever. A little different in government.
And the microfilming is part of state statutes. I can't believe they still have that in the statute, microfilming.
Yeah, that is odd now.
At least they add or digital disc storage.
Right. Well, even that.
So here again, too, this was meant for boards, members to make comments and submit, and I would assume that it
Yeah,
would
if
come
we,
back.
I was gonna say, maybe we can have an ad hoc, it can't be a formalized committee, but an ad hoc, or somebody that's willing to volunteer to work on and take suggestions and identify issues.
I'll do it. I've already downloaded a dozen different
Okay.
Yeah,
ordinances for record retention. Just,
so board members would resend, instead of appointing an ad hoc, just send it to.
Maybe just appoint, not even appoint, Jim, trustee Solani has volunteered.
right, I'll do it. I-
So was Carl.
Yes.
I like doing that stuff, though. It's just fun.
But it's 35, 36, going on 37 years. We're not going to get this, likely not to get this done this year, but, maybe sometime next year, we can get it done and updated and put us into the 2022 digital world, an email world, and
You gotta be careful with Jim, because he changed that petty cash policy from 2 pages to 33.
You're talking out of school here, girl.
now, do I have to gavel both of you? Okay, so I think by consensus, we
Yes.
have a volunteer.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And I also indicated for the record that the board thanked trustee Jim Sly for volunteering.
Yes. We do thank him. All right, so we are now on to the Village of Vernon Employee Handbook Review. It's 8:15. And we agreed last meeting that we would try to, put it on the agenda and work through part of it every meeting that we could, and at least one meeting a month at least. And so, we'll turn this over to trustee Swanee who leads our HR committee, who did a great job putting this together, I thought.
Thank you. This is really right out of the League of Municipalities manual that they suggest. So every topic in here actually is in their manual. And in most cases, it's just verbatim from their manual. Otherwise, I either took it from our existing manual or any one of the 100 or so other manuals that I downloaded to plagiarize from. What worked well is that we just go through page by page. And what I'd like to do, and then I'll just mark in my book any comments that you have, and then I'll make the changes, and we'll go on the next time from wherever we leave off. I would like to start on page 5, skipping the entire table of contents, because for the most part, that's actually all in the manual. Everything that's in the table of contents comes from in the manual, so if you wanted to change something there, it automatically changes, okay? Therefore, going from that, we start on, potentially on page 5. And then if you will, if you have any comments on it, always start out with the page and then the number of the paragraph that you're referring to so we can find it easily. Any issues on page 5?
Did you get the typo in 2A?
2, oh,
Page 5, 2A.
2A, page 5, 2A.
Well, we're on page 5.
Village of Monaco ordinance?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked him about that.
Yeah. I actually have already changed that so that now you know where I plagiarized that paragraph from. Okay, anything else on 5? If not, moving to 6.
The one thing I had on 6 was number 4, C, the last sentence. What is our practice now? That's policy to me. And I know the board has had issues in the past with the DPW, or maybe other people too, wanting quote-unquote summer hours, that is, work 4 days, 10-hour days instead of 5 8s. And there is a lot of resistance to that, given the nature of the job, outdoors, manual labor, operating heavy equipment, chainsaws, and the productivity of that type of job after 8 hours goes down significantly, safety issues as well. And so that sentence caught my eye. Between Memorial Day and Labor Day, these hours may be modified. What do you mean modified? What hours? Can he go 4 to 10, 4 10s? And if so, maybe the board doesn't want to see that. So,
Yeah,
question
that
is where,
is what it was in the existing handbook. Now,
and
I
maybe
didn't
that's
have
fine
any-
because it's discretionary.
right,
And the handbook was based upon their union contract.
Right.
which we tried to acquiesce to wherever we could in the past, so as to get rid of the union.
Well, there is no more.
Right, because we got rid of them.
Latin Act 10, but yes.
Well, but whether we want to continue doing that or not, You know, I.
Yeah, I mean, I marked it because it was
Yeah,
for
I don't
discussion,
know.
really. I don't know either. That's the, based on my recollection, that was always an issue with the board. And this sentence, and maybe it's always been this way, and the other way to think about it, well, we got our, DPW director, and it's his discretion. If we don't like what he's doing, we can always corral him in if necessary. So it was more of a question, a substantive point.
Jim, could I ask, how did our regular office hours compare to other municipalities?
Pretty much the same, with the exception that most of the other municipalities' office started, at the same time as the DPW crew did. But others, vary a little bit. But it's pretty much starting at 7 o'clock in most areas.
Office hours started at 7?
Mhm. Well, that way you're serving people that wanted to, at least on the ones that I downloaded, that I actually looked at,
How late did they stay open, most of them?
4. But it looks like they had, in a lot of places, they'd have like only one person in the morning, and sometimes they'd run till 6 o'clock with one person. Now that person that stayed late, actually, stayed later, came in earlier. So that person's hours was different than the rest of the staff, perhaps. How they worked that out, it was very cumbersome and wasn't documented well. So our hours are, just straightforward. I've always felt that we should stay later than 3:30 in the service to the public, because a lot of our residents are working,
I agree.
and they can't be here at 3:30. Now, they can call Karen, and Karen can set an appointment, I don't know if it would be later in the day or on Saturday or whatever. But I don't know that we need to document that all.
Jim, if we're stating the hours are from 8 to 3:30, and it's a 7.5-hour day, which includes a 30-minute unpaid lunch.
Yeah?
If we calculate that, that's not 7.5 hours. We could take the half hour off.
I'm aware.
Oh, okay. Is that,
That's how it is, written up in the handbook.
Not for my employees, but your DPW.
it says regular office hours are from 8 to 3:30.
The DPW is from 7 to 3:30.
Yeah, but he's talking office,
That's
your
an
people.
8 hour.
Yeah, we don't classify ours as an 8-hour day. If they're starting at 8:30 and leaving at 3:30.
It doesn't say
It
that.
says 7.5.
It says 7.5.
But I can tell you, there's more people that ask to drop off garbage.
30-minute unpaid lunch hour. So then it's actually a 7 hour.
But the lunch hour is lunch hour.
No.
That's really how it's written. That part's right.
It is right. This 7.5-hour day includes a 30-minute unpaid lunch hour. It's written right.
The question on the table was whether we wanted to give John the leeway to change the hours during the summer. Now I know I can just strike that line and nobody's ever gonna notice it's not there.
Right.
Because once it's not there, you don't know it's missing, right? But,
This is a paragraph on regular work hours. That's what they're doing now. They're not modifying hours now, are they? No.
And I'm here usually by 6:30 in the morning. So somebody's here by 7, no matter what. Just,
Right. I'd just as soon have it struck personally, but if other people have.
the moving hand writes and having writ moves on. You may quote me. Well, actually, that's the Rubaiyat Ulum Markaya.
Right. So let's, and as a technical matter, Jim, when we say the time in CST, that means Central Standard Time, you should probably just make that Central Time because in the summer it's CDT, Daylight Savings Time, but you probably should make all of those CT.
Yeah, I'll catch it.
Yeah, you'll just catch that. Let's go back to the regular office hours. 8 to 3:30. This is, and setting aside the number of hours, Karen's an exempt employee, salaried. She's here at night for meetings and so on. This is when the office is open.
Right.
And sure, we can open it earlier, and sure, we can close it later. But it's going to be more hours and more time and more cost. And my question always is, okay, it's a government office, I'd prefer, 8 to 4:30 or 8 to 5 even. I get it that people are working. A lot of them work at home now. A lot of them don't work at all. But my question always is, well, who's coming in here during the day? I walk in here and there's,
It's rec, park and rec,
park and rec
building
and building people.
for complaints.
Usually they come from nasty emails and phone calls about waste management. So you've got to balance, to me, you got to balance the service to residents and when they're, how many and when they're coming in versus the cost.
Right. The problem with, and I agree, the problem with how they're coming in is that they know we're not open after 3:30, for the most part. You still see some people pull in there in.
Oh, yeah, we know.
You know.
We were at 4 o'clock and they're like,
Right.
going in.
But for the most part, most people already know, so they don't come in. I've always had a wild hair about that, only because I just think that I know how it was when I was working, all over in Milwaukee and the rest of the world as far as that goes. But it's hard to get home, to go to the village to buy a dog license or something like that, and get there before 3:30. So if you work a normal 8 to 5 type job, you're kind of SOL on a lot of that stuff, and I just think that's maybe doing a disservice. I don't know how you can really change it. I'm not in favor of necessarily doubling our labor costs just to cover, late hours or even early hours. But early didn't, I always at the office by 7, so, to me that early wasn't ever an option. I only ever looked at after 5, but whether we need to or not, I don't know. I see occasionally cars pull in and then pull up by the door and then pull out again right away. But on the other hand, we haven't had, at least I haven't had anybody call me and complain about it.
That's because I think a regular resident, other than maybe rec person dropping off a check or signing the child up, doesn't really come in here.
No,
Builders and
they usually do a drop-off.
yeah, they usually do a drop-off.
And if
Dog
somebody-
license, we have a drop-off 24/7.
I mean, I come in on Saturdays to have people notarize their accessory buildings. Has nothing to,
Yeah.
but never a dog license, unless their dog is in jail. I have come in several times when they're in jail because they can't get their puppy out. I've come in on a Saturday and Sunday because they're crying, their dog's in jail. So that's a hardship, so. And if anybody works in Milwaukee and needs something and they need us to stay, I always stay.
Right.
So,
If you work in Milwaukee, having office hours from 8 to 5 does nothing. You can't get here by 5 at the end of
right,
the day.
yeah,
And 7 to 5 does nothing either because you're on the road at 7.
right.
So
That's why I put it just the way it's been.
Well, Karen, when you first came on board, didn't you change your hours to later?
Yes.
And and I did too.
To
And
see if people-
We just didn't get anybody.
Right. But if
So-
someone called, I know Marie,
Later
you
in the
would,
afternoon,
you would
you mean?
meet
Yes.
Sorry.
later in the day. But I know Marie would meet people. I know we do it for elections all the time, you know,
Oh,
but,
sure.
but I know Marie would meet people if they had a dog license or a dog. I mean, that just comes with the service.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a paragraph on regular office hours.
Yep.
Right. You can always by appointment. And these are not voting hours either. That's different.
Well, no, and most of the people with dog licenses come at tax time, and you're usually later
Right.
anyway.
Right. These are regular office hours. Tax time, it might be extended. Or
Exactly.
could be extended.
Yes. So I think as far as that, I think those hours are fine. I don't see a problem with them. You just gotta train people, and if it's something hard, like Karen said, they call her and she'll meet them, and I used to do the same thing, so I'm sure Lorraine did too.
Where they can drop things off, and if there's an emergency, to please call me. Or, I mean, John, I mean, and they do. So,
Like I said, I haven't had any comments on it, negative, but you could put something in the newsletter about, you know, after hours, you know, if you need FaceTime, call for an appointment. Anything else on 5?
DPW hours, same thing, same
Yeah.
thing on, start them up at 7. I would say no earlier because residents complain. Even at 7, they get woke up.
Well, they gotta get out there early, especially with the snow. So
With the snow and and the hot sun, you know, in the afternoon, so it's always good to. And they seem to, I've never heard any of them complain about that. Or
No.
residents, once in a while, how come there's a truck out in 705 in my subdivision, but. Well, when they're plowing there.
When they're plowing, yeah, and then nobody complains
No,
about
nobody
that.
complains about that. Yeah. Okay, anything? Yeah, the only other thing on number 6B, letter B, because I noticed the word village board, and that always causes me to, well, does the village board need to get all requests from sources for personnel information? Employee references shall be forwarded to the village board. That was in our policy before.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen anything forwarded to the village board for anybody's reference, but maybe that's because there has never been a request. Yeah, it usually goes to a supervisor. That's why I'm questioning it, or a department head. But that's how it's been, that's how it's been. Did your personnel people say anything about that sentence, or did they focus on it?
Exactly which paragraph do you want?
Oh, I'm sorry, 6, letter B is in
Oh,
beta.
6B, I was,
B,
yeah.
bravo.
No?
Usually, there's a policy that says they'll confirm the person worked here between this day and that date, and that's it.
Yeah, that's all you can, basically.
Probably why.
And so,
Right.
if that's what we're going to do, why does that need to be forwarded to the village board? Then what are we gonna do with it? Trustee?
Maybe above and beyond.
Maybe.
I mean, if they're really asking for it.
But even then, does the village board wanna see it? Most employers say that's all we, period. There are no exceptions. We'll confirm employment and dates. That's it. So, to me, why, if that's gonna be our policy, it doesn't need to go to the village board. The village board sets the policy, the staff executes it, and we're done. Otherwise, if this comes to the village board, what am I supposed to do with it? Put it on an agenda? To do what? Vote on it? I don't know what to,
I agree. It's a policy.
so Jim, I don't know if we want to, what your personnel, if they have policies that, the policy is on these type of requests, the village will respond as follows, you know,
Or should be forwarded strictly to the village clerk.
and direct him or her to, here's how you do them all?
By the way, any changes that come out of our board will be sent to all the human resources.
Oh, yeah,
No.
should be.
I'll make the change in track changes and I send it to them just so that everybody is aware of what got changed. Now that particular sentence may have been referencing more on the medical side or questions, you know, from insurance companies or that kind of thing, rather than just, you know, a job reference as an example, which we shouldn't be giving out either, but, you know.
Well, it says for personnel information. I don't know what that would be.
Well, that's.
Okay, number one. And then, or employment references, that's where that would
Yeah.
be, to me, more common. And that's where we ought to set a policy, have the clerk administrator implement that policy. And the
Is there
board
any
should.
advantage to the board knowing that there was an inquiry, not that we would do anything about it? Would we?
Well, that could be as simple as being copied in on a response.
Yeah. Because it could just as easily say clerk administrator instead of the board.
Right. We get copied in on a lot of things from our clerk administrators, so this would just be. Right.
Okay.
Okay, you got enough there?
Yep. Page 7.
Page 7. This is, I read this mostly as,
I'm sorry.
policy boilerplate
Yep.
type thing. I didn't have anything on 7, but, or 8.
Anybody else on 8?
Or 9. This is like legal, you know, ADA accommodations.
That's why I say a lot of it is just,
Well, a lot of it has to be legal,
right.
and we are going to get legal review eventually, and it's good that this came out of the League of Municipalities, because it looked like a pretty good form of policy in the first
Yeah.
place.
I'm at page 11. Anybody?
Yeah, 9, just for, bottom of page 9 and 10, the communication, I assume that's the latest and greatest, balancing between First Amendment rights and
Yep.
for public employees. I know that's, can be an issue and has been an issue in other communities, let's say, at times. Number 11, yeah, I'm in agreement with 11, so I'm on 11, page 11 now. Okay, so probationary period, 80 working days, so that's 4 months.
I don't know where the 80 came up, but that's what we had, and so that's what I put in there.
Oh, that's what we had now, or have now.
Yeah. Because I would normally think 90 days is more typical, and that's 3 months.
Okay, it depends on if you say calendar days or working days, but yeah.
Well, yeah, which, that's true.
Some people say 6 months, calendar months. This is, yeah. This would be 4 months, 80 working days, it's roughly 20 a month. roughly.
Yeah. Yeah. 25 in all months. Oh.
Working
Yeah,
days.
the working days, yeah. It's 445. order, so. The one thing in this section, under probationary period, that it doesn't say that I thought it should, was that at the end of the probationary period, oh, I did say it, in paragraph C, which was not in our original. At the end of the probationary period, a formal performance review based on the results. Now it says may occur. So that was me being soft pedaling what I think should be mandatory.
Well, you say end of probationary will require a formal, will.
Yeah, and then I say the results,
The results is
Oh,
may,
the results
may.
may. Yeah.
But it's a mandatory will.
so that wasn't in there before.
None of this was, this paragraph C. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, so this is a new paragraph.
Yes.
So this is a substantive policy change in the form of, it's new.
Right. And, you know, that was in the spirit of wanting to mandate performance reviews. And then when you have a new hire, you have them on probation for a reason. I don't know, other than John's guys, who else ever is really on probation. But at the end of the probationary period, I would think the supervisor should always do a performance review. A formal review, telling the person what he did great, what he was weak in, what he has to improve upon, and whether you want to keep him or not. Because you have to make that decision at the end of the probation period.
Right, it forces the department head to do this.
Right. So that, I just wanted to point that out. That's what I put in there.
Change, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty typical in private industries to have something similar.
It
I mean, it
wasn't-
can vary, but
Right. I mean, a lot of places don't have probation periods anymore.
more, right.
But, and a lot of maybe job positions don't require a probationary period. In John's case, running heavy equipment, that can be a big deal. Some people just never get the hang of running some of that equipment. But, so anyhow, I just wanted to point it out that that was there and is actually new.
Comments? Otherwise, we're going to keep going.
Yep. Anything on page 12?
The cost, the reimbursement, is that what we're doing now, 200? On paragraph, paragraph 3, letter C, Charlie?
Yes. $200 for OSHA.
Approved.
work
Steel
boots.
toes. Steel toed.
The big issue on that was that last year or 2 years ago or something like that, he ended up paying out for the part-time workers. And he didn't want to do
Oh.
that because they came in and got the $200 and then they were gone. And only one member on the HR committee complained about the $200.
Too high or too low?
Too high, that it was too high.
Says up to.
And I just bought steel toe boots and they cost me a little over $200.
Should have an entry on the end of this, it's G. Sure, so I'm looking at two different ones. The end of G with the point, it says you must maintain an acceptable driving record. Didn't we want to put a valid Wisconsin driver's license in there?
I think we have that in there somewhere, not necessarily in that bullet. But that is a requirement, yes.
Yeah, that bullet's talking about your driving record, Marie, what you're saying is, where's the job requirement for Wisconsin driver's license or CDL? In some cases, you need a CDL. So, it's in here somewhere. I thought I read it somewhere too, Jim. I can't,
Yeah, I'm looking for it now.
right. And we pay for gloves, hard hat, safety glasses, I'm assuming.
Yeah. they said
T-shirts and coveralls, we do that too.
Yeah, primarily only for the mechanic, because he's really the only one that needs it.
Right. As needed basis, okay. Let me know when you're going to 13.
Well, I'm on 13 now because I can't find
Okay?
the Wisconsin license. I'll just make a note of it. I can search it more easier electronically. So on 13,
Yeah, there's a bunch of bullet points at the top, and so I'm going to count down the bullet points. My point here is there's just a little bit of a redundancy or inconsistency between two of the bullet points. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bullet point down in case of an accident, okay?
Yep.
You've got first do this, second, third, and then 3 bullet points below that, immediately contact law enforcement and your supervisor. So,
that probably should have been 1.
yeah, well, summon medical care is 1, I would think. 2, I think that bullet point 3 down is already covered. Summon medical care, notify law enforcement, notify your department head.
See, now this one, redundancy is a distinct possibility because this is a combination of what was in
Others,
multiple manuals.
right? Okay,
Now, in the other one, that says law enforcement, so that is redundant.
and your supervisor, which is number 3, department
Yeah.
head or designee. You want to say the employee supervisor, you know, department head or what,
Yeah,
right?
agreed. So I scratched out that
Yeah, that's
third
what I
from the
would say.
bottom in that list.
It's just as a redundancy. And the other question I had is, this very last bullet point. If determined by your supervisor, you must report for a drug alcohol test. Within 8 hours of your accident, you might as well not even bother. It's gonna be out of your
Yeah,
system.
oddly enough, that is what the lead had in it.
Really?
Now, I thought,
To sleep
I
8
thought-
hours and still wake up drunk, you have to be really
seriously,
seriously drunk.
I would
8 hours
think
before that.
that the police would,
Have to be dead almost.
I mean, if you were drunk, the police would catch it right then and there anyhow.
You'd think.
You would think. But I thought we had in our manual that any accident,
Any accident.
you have to have a blood test, and that's not what the original thing said.
And we've had 2 accidents?
We
Fire
had 2 this
department?
last year.
Yeah, yes. There were no drug or alcohol tests after
Exactly.
those.
And I thought that was mandatory. But that isn't really what it said.
Right, so I'd question, well, one thing we could, well, I'm questioning the 8 hours because
Yes, yeah.
it's, I would say 2 hours or 1 hour. But I get the point about law enforcement. They can make you do it.
Right.
Well,
Well,
they could ask you to do it if you would refuse. There's legal consequences for refusing.
you're going to jail.
Yeah, you're going to be put in jail. But that's different, implied consent law, when you're driving. But if it's a parking lot accident, let's say, no injuries, law enforcement is not called, because you bump the
Right.
side of the building,
Now,
We could
had-
require it. I don't know what our insurance carrier says about it. I don't know that they say anything about it.
Right, no, neither do I. We did have, either in the original one, that if the damage exceeded $2,000, you had to have a medical exam, an alcohol test. But first off, how do you know?
The 2,000 is nobody knows. Everybody, oh, it's just a scratch. Well, it
Yeah,
happens to be
and it costs you
25.
$5,000.
Because you bent the suspension underneath it or something.
Yeah. But I don't know, putting the dollar limit on it was a good way to do it anyhow, because that's why it never gets done. I mean, that one, you damage a fire truck, it's gonna be expensive, but, 14 grand for one accident, backing into a, I don't know if that was the one that hit the building or hit the other vehicle. But how is that not subject to a alcohol test?
Right, and the incident we're referring to is a fire department, so we'd be deferring, well, we defer to the fire department rules unless these are more strict. I think you say that in there.
Actually, it says
Or the
unless
other
they
one.
conflict,
Oh, unless they conflict,
unless they
okay.
conflict.
So if their rules say something and we say something,
Their
there's a
rules.
conflict,
Their rules.
apply. We can always change their rules too.
Right, right. But that is how it's written right now.
Which, I read that and
Yeah,
you have to have a tiebreaker in there, so
yeah.
that's the tiebreaker.
But I can look up more on that 8 hours, but I just thought it should be mandatory if you have an accident.
Right, so there's two, I guess there's two issues floating around, right? Whether it's mandatory or at supervisor's discretion, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And then the second issue is how quickly, right?
Yes.
So if you make it mandatory, you still have to answer the second one quickly. If it make it discretionary, you still have to answer the second one, how quickly.
And setting time may be part of the issue because, the police may not let you leave the scene for a period of time,
Depends. Yeah,
especially if there's a personal injury
Injury.
of any kind.
Depends.
Yeah, so you never know for certain one way or the other whether you can leave to go get a test or not right away. Maybe why it pushed it off as far as it did.
But if that's the reason pushing it off, then pushes it off for all reasons,
Yeah,
not just you can't leave the scene
right.
2 hours after
I mean, it would,
being permitted to
that would
release.
seem reasonable.
Right. Although I don't know where you get those at the middle of the night, but I think you can at a hospital.
Well, I think most of the time they send them over here to the clinic and they're open 24/7.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. There are places. Yeah,
No,
all right, so
but.
you're gonna
okay,
look
I
into
need
that a
those
little
back.
bit and,
I'll
yeah,
Follow up with that.
okay.
Page 14?
13, fire department, oh, there's the, fire department stuff, okay. Yeah, top of page 14, letter C. I marked it, but I understand that, why it's there. I'm not,
Yeah.
I just marked it. I don't think we have anybody like that, but. Okay, 14, I didn't have anything other than timekeeping, I mean.
What was it that I had in my mind on this one? Karen, you're probably the only non-exempt employee that we have, really. I mean, John gets paid
John.
over, but he gets paid overtime, so that's really, yeah. So you're really the only one that this whole thing applies to. And the way I read this, it's saying that you should have reportable hours. Do you? Are we doing that now? Because I don't. Are you, you're not punching the clock? So where are you? Okay. I mean, I don't care. I just never knew you actually recorded your time at all. So you might want to read this, because I think you're the only one that affects.
And then if it starts getting bad. I do take time off, but I'm really working at home. Yeah,
Which isn't exactly according to Hoyle,
I know.
unless it's recorded. And your supervisor, in this case, I guess that would be the board, would say, yeah, okay, that you got comp time.
Right.
Because that would then be covered under that
Right,
section.
Right. But it's not a big
Your time cards for your employees?
I mean, they have time sheets. Sheets, like your employees did, same as, yeah, has it, and Marie, and Marilyn's and Gina's, they all had. Yep, but the guys actually punch a clock. Because sometimes John's not here when they're doing overtime hours or emergency work, so they punch that clock so that John has documentation of that. Especially if there's an insurance claim. Very important. I don't know if the fire department does that.
Well, they have shifts.
Yeah.
We get a spreadsheet, you see the, yeah, the hours and the duty crew shifts and so on. That'd be a question for Patrick.
Page 15, employee comp,
Just the CST to CT.
yeah.
And then the time and a half and 2 times, that's what we do now, right?
Yes, sir.
And the return to work, that's what we do now too.
Yep.
Well, we don't have to do that, but I'm not suggesting we change it, but I just wanted to confirm that's what we're doing. And if there's issues with it, now would be the time to change it. This would all be prospective anyway.
Right.
Everybody know what I'm talking about in letter F and G on page 15? H, I suppose, same thing, same issue.
Same issue. yeah. F was actually the only one that I actually really, that I questioned in my mind at all. The only guy that's ever, that's refused John isn't working anything, he's retired from us. And when he asked him to do some work this year, he wouldn't do it or couldn't do it. But I don't know that that one, is that the one I was talking about? Yeah. if
You're
we call
talking
you
about
to
F,
work-
right?
Pardon?
F is what?
F, yeah.
Okay.
That may be new, was not in our original one, but was in the league.
Oh, an F. Yeah, that's basically saying, if you get called back after your shift, you're guaranteed a minimum of 2 hours of work, and if we don't work you 2 hours, you still get paid for 2 hours.
Right. But you can't refuse to work.
Right, and this only, to me, only applies to DPW, this paragraph.
Yeah, yes.
The way I read it, anyway.
A whole bunch of this whole manual really just,
Right. Oh, so that might be new. Have we talked to John about these, what is new, if you will,
Well,
or change?
yeah, not specifically. I mean, he was given the manual to review on it.
Right.
And he was okay with all of it. Now, whether he,
Focused on.
focused on some of these or not, I don't know. But the hours that were, you know, that he was okay with all of that stuff, like we're guaranteeing you that if we call you, you're gonna get paid for at least 2 hours. You know, that type of a thing. I don't remember talking to John specifically about F and what it says about, you know, refusal to work overtime. I think he made some comment about, well, he hasn't ever had that issue.
Well, then it's fine as it's written,
Yeah.
but,
Kind of why I just, okay, fine, I mean, but
yeah, okay.
like I say, I don't know that he focused on that part of it.
Yeah, let's say they're Fish Fry Friday, and all of a sudden a snow squall off Lake Michigan comes up 1 o'clock in the morning Saturday.
And John,
They couldn't work.
John does warn the guys, hey, the weather's bad, don't party, because you're probably gonna be called in, because you can't be,
can't.
yeah.
And it
Can't
doesn't
have-
have a
you-
big
you have
enough
to have zero.
staff to say, okay, you're
Yeah.
on call.
I'm not going out,
Yeah.
because I drink the heaviest.
So,
Yeah. All right, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of our conversation, that's, you know,
yes. I
to-
mean, he
to
wouldn't bring
raise
it
them.
up unless it was an issue.
right.
Page 16, paragraph 3, compensatory pay. I originally had crossed off and taken out of the book altogether. It was in our old one. We don't do that. Well, I talked to John. He said, yeah, we do that.
Oh, yeah,
We do that.
yeah, we do.
Um,
And we always have, for,
Yeah,
yeah. Subject to limit. So when I read A,
you can only go up to like 40 hours or something like that.
right, it says may choose to receive compensatory time off, there's no period. I would say comma, subject to the limit in B, right? It's not, once they hit the limit in B, A doesn't apply anymore.
Right.
And there's what they're doing now, or there's what they're permitted to do now in letter B.
Yes.
That's what I thought. John doesn't have a problem with that.
No, no,
Some employers do, because then it's, hey, these guys are always off.
well, and the issue is that's all on John. Keep
Yeah.
track of it
Right,
and the like. And to me, that might be an issue between he and the guy that he's working for. Well, yeah, but I had more hours than that,
but the clock,
you know.
And there's a standing form of who had, John and the guys track who gets overtime, their role.
Yeah.
And who turns it down because it's offered, and if they're not there right away, that's happened in emergency, they're out of town too, so they refuse that overtime. But if it's legitimate, then they pop back up to keep everybody happy.
right, not, the whole crew hasn't called at 2 in the morning, depending on the emergency.
Right.
Maybe if they only need 2 guys get called.
But if they need 4, which is rare, but there is.
Well, snowplowing might happen more often.
Oh, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
Right, in the winter.
in the
But if
winter. But, you know, during
Some
the summer,
winters.
maybe tree down or something.
Yeah,
Right,
trees
tree across
down.
Maple Avenue, whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if it's something that's a safety issue where you need somebody to watch traffic, you gotta keep the guys safe too, so.
Okay. So you got that little subject to B, the limited B, and then otherwise.
'Cause I think part of that was, back in the day, guys could accumulate hundreds of hours.
Yes,
And so that's when I thought we stopped doing it altogether,
Yep.
but they just put a limit on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they can accumulate, but they can't carry it over.
Yeah. But they can only accumulate up to 40 hours.
That is correct, sir.
right.
And then the question was, is it 48 hours total per year? Or is it, say you accumulate 20 hours, use 10 of them up, or 16 of them, whatever you want to do, and then you accumulate another 25 hours, which would mean you accumulated 45 hours for the total year,
Right.
but at any one point in time, you always had less than 40 hours on the books.
I know there's been times too where they have asked to use their comp time, but because of people being off, John has a little flexibility there. He watches that, but I mean, because of his limited staff, he works within the parameters of the board's.
Right, but is that what you raised, Jim, a question, because it says accumulated up to 40 hours?
Yeah, I never got an answer on that one. And I just, well, okay.
These hours can be used to take paid time off in the same calendar year.
I don't think he ever abuses that.
Yeah, I don't think,
Now,
your example, I would say he's over. The 40
that's what I
hours.
was thinking. That's the way I read this. But I
That's
don't
the way
know
I
if that
read
was
it,
how
too.
it's intended or not.
All right, so maybe that's a question for John.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
would be.
just to-
Whether
Just to
it
make sure.
happens ever or not, I don't know, but it just,
Well, we want to get into, yeah, we got to be, whatever we're doing here, it's got to be communicated to our employees when we're finally done.
right.
And they've got to understand, if it's a new change, they got to understand. Well, that's not the way we used to do it. Well, you know. 8 hours exempt. Karen?
Anything else on 15? Or 16, rather? If not, moving to 17?
17, of course, is health insurance. Number 1, number C, or letter C is the buyout. And, yeah, that's what it is. Now,
And we had talked about, and I thought it was a general impression that we would want to change that, because it seems a little ludicrous to be paying somebody more not to take our insurance. This is per pay period.
yeah, I know, it's $550 a month.
7,000 a year.
That's a lot of freaking money.
Yeah,
I'll not take your insurance if I could get that, you know.
And that's for single and married? Or
Yeah.
married?
Yeah, it didn't matter, single or married.
and that's a problem too. That, for one, needs to be
Because
changed.
a single person's making money.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
they,
single person can go out to the marketplace and buy it for cheaper.
Right.
we don't have that now, but we did,
Yeah,
and we could.
we could in the future.
Right.
That needs to be changed. At least that piece
At
needs to
least
be.
that piece, for sure, needs to be changed. That, I would almost say you'd cut it in half if it
Be the
was,
fair way to do it.
you know, if it was single versus
Right.
married, because that's how
The rates work,
yeah. Whether the amount
right?
is
Yeah.
275 is exorbitant in the first place for family. You know, I have heartburn with that even, paying somebody not to take your insurance. Any job that I ever worked, you either took their insurance or you don't. And we were mandated. I think the old rule at one time was between you and your spouse, the one that was born, I'll say it wrong probably, first in the year, that's whose insurance you're supposed to be on.
That's no longer the law.
But
Just so
that's
you
no
know.
longer the law. I don't know what the current one is, but that's, you know, so, okay. My wife was always the first one by law because she was born in March and I'm born in October. We never used her insurance. We always used our insurance, my insurance. You know. But if I didn't want to take any company, any place that I worked, if I didn't wanna take their insurance, they didn't pay me not to.
When was this, when did we start this? And why was it started?
Oh my God, it goes back, Marilyn Gauger was paid not to take insurance. It goes back a long time.
Yeah, but it stopped there because I never took insurance and I never got reimbursed for anything.
Maybe because you were an elected official.
So was Marilyn Gauger.
Yeah, that's true. But remember, she got paid.
She did, and then she had to put it in, one of the 401Ks or something. Couldn't get cash, it had to go into that.
And I-
Yeah, she did.
And I don't know when, oh, I know when they started this. They looked at this probably started like in 15 or 14, because they were looking at the cost of a health care, the premium that the village paid for a family plan. And it was cheaper, when they looked at the numbers, it was cheaper to pay them, the $275 a week versus a premium. But that's when they were paying, that's when they were on the PO 14, where it was the premium dental vision was a really good plan. And then they took that away, so the little history.
I remember that discussion, which, given the members of the board and myself, just a little different styles of discussing. And yes, that is what I recall, and my point then, and my point now, would be, some employers do have a buyout, nowhere close to $550 a month, more like $2,000 a year, or maybe $3,000 a year, $250 a month, let's say. So, as an incentive to get your health insurance on your spouse's plan, really it became.
Well, that's why paying them not to take it is an incentive to go on their spouse's plan. But it's still costing us money.
But-
And
But it is costing us money if they were on our plan, because we're subsidizing their premium.
So what does it cost us?
Uh,
What's
w-
our portion?
Yeah, well, we have,
well, you got your,
It depends on the year, but it looks like
Yeah.
$900 and some dollars a month.
yeah, we just
came today.
gave us information today.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, on all the different plans.
on all the different plans, including the
Yeah.
P-17s, right?
Oh, and by the way, I read 40.51, I read the whole 40. Nowhere in it could I find that it says the employee can only,
I put that in. It's in that bright yellow page. It's right there. And I can give you the name and number of the woman that is a legal counsel for.
Right.
well, this isn't from, I still don't see it, but this isn't from 40.51, or 40, anything. I don't know what it is from.
It's from the insurance manual from ETF, but
Okay.
What did your ladies say about their work experience in the private sector on buying people out of health insurance?
For the most, Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, but they thought it was ridiculous that we do it.
Okay,
And they don't feel, they don't know why they would be complaining because they felt insurance was quite adequate compared to what they were out there getting.
in the private sector.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things you hear from taxpayers and residents is, hey, my job, and they'll tell you what their job offers. Why does the government employee get better?
Right.
Because I'm the taxpayer here, I'm the employer. Why are they getting better than what I can get? You hear that all the time, but, okay, well, that's their, and that's why I ask. I mean,
Right.
The place where I think on the employer side where it makes sense to buy people out of your health insurance is if you have a self-insured plan, and you want to get people out of your plan and insure it elsewhere. Now, we do not have a self-insured plan, because we're so tiny. It'd be crazy if we did. But, you know, employers with 2, 3, 5, 10, 20,000, they have self-insured plan. Maybe they insure catastrophic, you know, claims in a particular year. But those companies are more, I think, more apt to have a buyout as opposed to pure insurance. So I think we're gonna have to make this call, whether, maybe not tonight if we don't wanna make it tonight, but at a budget, we're gonna have to have it,
Right.
this,
On one hand, it's kind of like fairness to the employees. We're spending X amount of dollars on this group that is using our plan. But we're saying there's an option that we wouldn't spend anything if you don't take our plan. Now, that saves the village money. Doesn't do our employees, you know, when you look at total, like,
cost of labor.
you know,
It's your cost of labor, it's your
Yeah.
salary, your FICA taxes, your insurance costs, that's your
Right.
cost of labor. And,
so that burden,
right,
Which
that's
is-
that's a number,
but it's not equitable across all employees. You're not treating them all the same.
yeah, that's a single versus married on the insurance problem.
Well, that's an issue there.
There's an issue.
Yeah.
And if you if you're an employee and don't take advantage of your fringe benefit, some employers will say it's there, take advantage of it. To point is, why are we paying you anything then to
Right.
not take it? That's
See,
your
that would be
choice.
my first,
That's your, the other way to do it is to say, well, like you're saying, the village will save you money. We should share some of that savings with the employee. Maybe not all of it, but some of
Right.
it. That would be the counter.
right.
So when did this, you remember when this started?
Wasn't it about 2015?
Paying out
You
the
said 15, you
It's
thought.
when they changed, it's when they went to the high deductible. It was really a pretty big backlash. Remember, it was 15 or 16. I'll go back and look.
Okay, I just wondered how many years this was in place.
Most of those guys are no longer here.
Right,
Say again?
Most of those guys are no longer here. They're
none of
either
them.
quit or retired now.
John would have been the only one that would have
John
been
would've
here.
the only one left, right?
Everybody else it's a total,
So that's my next question. How many are married and how many are single?
we only have one single person, and John and myself. And John's
The other
married.
guys you pay out?
John's a
Tell me
family.
about the 4 guys that work for John.
3 of them take the buyout, and one is he's currently single. And I know one of the DPW members has to buy his own insurance, and that's what he uses, because he has to have dental. He's got 5 or 6 kids. So
He
needs-
could buy dental on his own and take our
Oh,
health
he-
insurance.
No, well, yeah, privately, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
he
and
could do it
vision,
that way,
and
yeah.
vision,
Right, he could do it that way if he wanted.
right,
He doesn't have to take our buyout.
right. I'm just gonna go back and see, while you're talking, I'll just find out the year, because I'm pretty sure that was the year that, that didn't go over well, changing from, one policy,
Get to the high deductible
Yeah.
never did not go well.
no, but I'll find out.
So, this is just a pure, to me, pure board decision, policy decision.
Yeah,
It's
right.
employee fringe benefits. The board is responsible to set those fringe benefits. This is a fringe benefit, period. That's just, and it's part of budgeting.
So for a game plan going forward, I think we need to consider adjusting the 275 total to an appropriate number for the family, and then a separate number for individual.
Right.
And I say appropriate because, if we're paying $900 a month, you know, per family, whatever the number is, you know, is the 275 a little bit less than the 80%, you know, of what we're paying? So we're giving them, all the employees, approximately the same amount of money if they're on the family plan?
Yeah, it was 2018 when the board did the conversion. Now, let me get those numbers, other numbers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was a little, the switch to the high deductible plan,
Right.
yeah.
They were trying to compensate.
No, the buyout happened, the 275 was earlier than that. Earlier than 18, wasn't it? It started earlier than
Yeah,
18.
that started earlier. Yeah, yeah, the 275 had nothing to do with,
Oh, it didn't? Okay.
no. They were just looking at what, I mean, 275 was a deal because the premium, the town probably paid $2,000 a month versus, you know, the 500. So when they looked at that time, it was a significant savings for if they took a buyout of $550 a month versus a $2,000 premium. I mean, that's how expensive it was not the Cadillac, but probably a
Well,
Tahoe.
it included dental. It included dental and vision back then.
Yes, you're right, sir.
And a low deductible.
Nothing. I mean, you paid
Yeah.
nothing to go to the doctor.
See,
That was a good plan, that's why it's surprising it changed so much from year to year, really.
okay,
So,
yeah, I think,
well, we just need to run some numbers through,
right.
come up with,
I think we ought to tackle this when we tackle the health insurance
right.
at the same time.
That's
And
on
you're nodding
Tuesday.
your head.
It's really a budget item.
Yeah.
Overall, right.
Has anybody ever considered listening to a private insurance person?
We've done that, Marie.
Yeah.
And I've brought the people that do City in Berlin is self-employed, so I brought their insurance firm in to talk with us, and they really tried. Great firm, but we're just so small. Now, if we had,
That's a big problem.
right, if we had a full-time fire department with all those full-time, then it'd be a whole different animal. But if you incur more full-time people, then it becomes a little more lucrative.
Right. Right, yeah, if you have full-time, if you're a big city, full-time fire, full-time police, full-time DPW, and many of them, and
Right.
full-time office staff, people,
Yeah, we looked into self-insurance. We looked in all different options, but right now with this limited amount of people, it's really tough. And I know Lorene looked into it also. We're so small, that's the problem.
okay, we've got a game plan.
Yeah.
We know what we have to do there.
Page 18, anything?
I didn't know we had an EAP, but that's good,
I didn't either.
You didn't know we had one?
EAP.
Employee assistance plan? Wait a minute, you're the one that told me we did.
What is it, well,
Alcohol, drug problems, long-term disability problems.
oh, yeah, yes, yeah, we do have that.
Right, people can call
Yep,
and get assistance with those kinds of issues
Yes,
on
yeah.
a confidential basis.
yep, yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, on page 18, on number 4, letter B, it says the village board, it should say just the village. Board's not gonna provide any insurance company. The village will, but not the board.
Yeah.
That's just a typo.
That-
Oh, come on, Carl.
I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna insure anybody's life. Anything else on 18? That's the only thing I had on 18. Wow, hour and 10 minutes.
19.
We're only on 19. How late do you want to go? We should probably finish it. We should probably at least stop at some place where it makes sense, maybe page 22 or
That's just
something.
what I was gonna say,
All right,
yeah.
22 is the stopping point. Here we go. All right.
20 looks good, 20.
Yeah, but 19 is the expense reimbursement policy.
Yeah.
Is that where we're at now?
Yeah, 19.
Yeah, 20, it was 10 days, you got to get your receipts in. I don't know if people follow that, but
Well, that's,
some of them within 10 minutes.
yeah,
But
that wasn't actually defined
Yeah.
before.
Oh, okay.
It was, you gotta get your receipts in.
Didn't
but-
say when.
Now we're saying you gotta get them in within, so it's in the same, ideally, they'd all be in the same period. So when you close your financial period, it's done. You're not getting in stuff late.
You want a month?
Yeah, you've got 10 working days. Should that be 20 working days a month?
Yeah, give a month.
Yeah.
Come on, Jim, give me a month.
A month of
You
calendar
go
or
to a
20
hardware
working
store,
days?
you buy something,
20 working days, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
I put a circle around 10, like, that's a little tight. 20 working days, how's that?
all right. That's on page 20.
22. No.
No, page 20, sorry, page 20, D is in Delta.
Paragraph 1. Now,
No, that is expenses, like, that is not travel, that's
miscellaneous
everything.
job-related expense
expenses.
reimbursement.
You want to say, because travel is on page 22. So I read page 19 is, okay, that doesn't include travel because travel is specifically covered on page 22.
Now, that may be modified slightly to reference the petty cash
30-page document.
document, depending on,
Okay?
because that's really what it's referencing is, I'm thinking, things that would normally be covered by petty cash. And I made it 10 days only because the fire department is always late no matter what you give them. So I said 10 days. But we'll change that to 20 days.
You
because-
begrudgingly conceded 20.
Grudgingly. Now, on page 21, it doesn't say it, but it is intended to be a facsimile or sample miscellaneous job expense form. Now, there are all kinds of, there are literally hundreds of different expense forms that you can buy, ready-made, print it off, buy a book of them, keep them, whatever. And we probably use something like that around here for these kinds of things. Again, the petty cash one has another form in it, very similar to this one. But that one has some additional information on it that this doesn't. But these are only meant to be as a sample. I don't know what you're really using today for a form for, I see stuff that the fire department uses is different than what maybe
Yeah.
you use in the office or John uses. And it don't really matter.
Right. It's
But we
just
gotta
like-
have
yep,
something.
some documentation.
But there has to be some definition of what information is required,
Right.
Like on the petty cash, I wanted to have an ID or number of the petty cash transaction. On this one, we have, like the GL account number that's applying, that kind of thing, that's what we gotta have in it. So that's pretty much how any of the forms that I have in here were intended. Not to say we gotta use this exact form.
Yeah, on the form, I don't know how an employee can know the general account number. But,
They have to tell us.
The employee can't, an employee cannot submit. It has to go to the department head.
Right.
And the department head has to submit it with the account, the date, what it was for.
And this would be the
Well,
time we
yeah.
write it on.
Yep.
right,
And that's
vendor,
what we
I
do
would
now.
say description is inadequate. There ought to be vendor, description, and the purpose.
That's exactly what's on the petty cash fund, by the way.
Okay.
And the account, yep, it's all on there.
And the account number, if the employee's doing it, there's no way the employee knows the chart of account. But
Right.
if someone writes it in.
And an
But
employee,
no employee can go out and spend anything without their department head
yeah,
approval.
no employee can submit anything to
Right.
me. It has to all be through the department head. Even the battalion chiefs are approved by Alex.
Right. Okay. Well,
So it was just, anyhow, the page 22, we're on,
Yeah,
because that was
21.
21.
All right. Hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah, we didn't stay on topic 100%, you know. We
Well,
probably
and we
coulda-
hit some substantive issues, which
Yeah.
I figured we would.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There are more to come.
There are more coming. Yes, there are. So should we stop here? We could put it, on a, if there, we'll put it on a next agenda unless it gets so packed that, and then if
Right.
not, we'll do this at least once a month.
Right.
That's all
We're
we
gonna have
can
to
do.
get it,
Right, we're gonna have to.
we'd like to have it done, for the 1st of January. Whether we do or not
Right.
is up to how much time you get willing to spend on it.
and that's just for information.
Oh,
And then this board members, I just want you to have this, keep it with your health insurance information.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Board member. You're gonna need that for Tuesday, this for Tuesday. I just want you to see sorry, I
This is
forgot to
all
put that
one?
in your homework.
oh, I got 2 copies of that. Okay, so we'll pick it up at 22. And the next item on the agenda, employee performance evaluation, as we agreed at last meeting, as I remember, we're going to work through this first and then get that scheduled. Is that still the plan unless this drags and drags?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody agree by consensus? Okay, village contractor agreements, I think last meeting, we were directing, or asking the clerk administrator to give us copies, which she has, and they're in our packet. I'm not sure, they're there in case we wanted to talk about them. I'm not sure, the assessor, it's out on RFP. The auditor's contract, we talked about on RFP, but it's there in the book. Vince's is in the book, so you can see it. Employee contracts, John's in the book. Fire chief has a contract, even though he doesn't really need one. And, did I catch them all?
Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's Department contract, which, it's there, there's not much action, we signed a 5-year contract, so,
Right.
but it's there,
Right.
so everybody has them. So I'm not sure what action we need to take there tonight.
Just for reference, just so board members have them.
And I'm glad that we're looking at them early. In the past, a lot of times it would come up in December, and it's like, what are we doing? But they are budget, their numbers in there, that's what it's gonna cost. Date for future staff meeting, I think Attorney Macy couldn't make that day.
He's got a conflict on the 28th of October, he's got a conflict. Can't make it.
So do we have to have them?
That's up to you.
Well, right, there are other things on the staff agenda that we could talk about.
Said he could come late, remember, Carl?
Oh, yeah, he did. Oh, yeah.
So you could still have staff.
And start with things where,
But Carl just wanted to let you know that he's not gonna be there right in the beginning.
right.
Stop
There's
crying.
lots of times when things are being discussed, he doesn't need to be there for those things, so.
Yeah, because
We
usually
could plan the agenda accordingly.
Vince and Sean's usually in the beginning to get him out, in and out.
Yeah, and Vince
Vince
is too.
and
but
John.
Sometimes it's nice to have Macy, Daryl, Sean, and Vince, because they're asking him legal questions on, oh, well, how do we interpret this in our zoning code or whatever? On those.
I have not heard any of those issues so yet from Sean or Vince at this point. So the board could still keep the 28th and just with the understanding that we'll put the legal issues,
Later,
towards
we
the,
could just keep it as it is.
Yeah, I would prefer to keep it at the 28th. Kind of scheduled around it already anyhow. But on the other hand, I don't think we need Macy at, for everything anyhow.
Right. So we
Yeah.
could probably schedule around it.
Yeah.
By consensus, keep it at October 28th again. Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Yeah. And we could start it a little later at 1:30 if we
we don't have a lot of items.
don't have a lot of items, things
But if-
like that. But
If
yeah.
board members have items they want, you can get them in any time.
Well, I've already, you had it already on the list, talk about the process that we're using for budget.
Right.
Right.
You're right, and Macy doesn't need to be for that,
Right, yeah.
right?
Right, nope,
Right,
we'll say that's all policy.
right. Yeah, he
Says
was.
that a lot.
Yeah, so I noticed.
All right. Correspondence, announcements, and reports. Village Board and Trustees, should we, what are we, I can't remember if we're going in,
No, we'll start here because we did hurt last time.
oh, okay, start with,
I have nothing.
Trustee DeGray.
Nothing to report.
Trustee.
Nothing new here.
And I have very little to report as well,
I'm
although,
sorry, I did have one thing I wanted to say and I forgot it. I wanted to say that. Is I must apologize to our ladies in our deputy clerks and the like. I must have referred to them as worker bees at some point.
oh, you have.
Or minions.
And I'm not certain, I'm not certain if they took exception to that or not. It wasn't meant derogatory, it was just what came to my mind. But I did get a little note from one of them that said about the copies that were on here. Copies made by worker bee Sue. And she has a little bee.
Well, I did tell him, Jim, you meant that in an endearing way.
I did.
Your minion and bees were always like a positive.
Yeah, I use that too, yeah. That's all I wanted.
And I do not have, I'm trying to think for the last 2 weeks, that don't have really a report. We do have some shared services meetings, which we'll get to coming up. I guess we don't list those. We have shared services committees coming up next week with the Village of Big Bend on the 21st and the 23rd with the Village of Waukesha. In both cases, principally to discuss fire services, fire and EMT.
Are they, it says village board, is it just you and Jim?
It's the board. I
It
did
is
it.
the board?
On the 23rd?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
That's in Waukesha.
in Waukesha.
When was that scheduled? Was that scheduled by the shared services committee? Because I don't have that in my records. I'm not gonna be.
You were here when we talked about it. It was at one of our board meetings.
Well, if you can't make it.
You can't make
Yeah.
it, but,
That's
yeah,
understandable.
it started out as shared services, and then the Shared Services Committee invited the entire board, because their entire board is going to be there, and to listen to wherever we are at with regards to Village of Waukesha and Village of Vernon Fire Department and Rescue Services,
I would love to hear it, but I will not be there.
okay? But that's coming up the 23rd, and we're supposed to be first on the agenda.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons was they wanted to, it's gonna be a lot of work to go forward and just to do some research whether we really will go forward, type of thing. And so they wanted to see some commitment from our board that we're committed to going forward, if that's what we've decided.
Right, and we want to see commitment from their board, too.
Exactly.
And I sometimes, well, we'll see how that meeting, I will reserve all comments. They're on YouTube, aren't they?
Yes.
Village of Waukesha's on YouTube. Try to watch it or watch it later, right? So you can benefit from the discussion. You just won't be there to ask questions if you have questions.
So the other one you're talking is the other village?
Yes.
Is there a date for that? Is that a board meeting?
No, that's just shared
That's just
services.
shared.
Oh,
We've talked about that in closed session and we've been directed.
But you're always welcome.
Everybody's, yes, you're always welcome. And all the agendas say a quorum of the board may be present, no action, at the bottom, to protect everybody. So you could, don't worry about open meetings violations, because we try to post the agendas to allow for board members to be in the audience. It's not a board meeting, though, and don't come and think you can, hey, I got this. So that is my report. Those are coming up. So we already talked, the fire department reports are on the website in your box. Sheriffs, we've heard from. Treasurer, we heard from. Clerk administrator.
Mine are, I'm not going to go into detail, but as the information becomes available, I've been at stormwater seminars, floodplain seminars, the redistricting seminars, the bridge application seminar, and also all day today was health insurance. You have all the health insurance information I could give you. And the other things, as they become more concrete, I'll get you that information too.
Okay, thank you. We will go to accounts payable.
President Fortner, did you want to tell the board that you did the changes and the track changes on the 16th or before the board? Are you doing minutes?
Nope, accounts payable.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I know we're anxious. I'm trying to file this piece of paper in with the health insurance stuff, so I don't lose it. Okay, we've got batch 20210916 in the amount of $12,876.18. Probably one of the lowest amounts I've seen.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
What's the lowest I've seen?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Manual checks.
There are none, sir?
There are none. August 2021 ACH report.
Karen, you had a blank, I'll call it a blank form in here where you had a note, sign off on ACH payments, so duplicate payments do not happen.
Right, in your APs, I wanted you to see that there was an authorized payment of $495 and an authorized payment of $56.83, I believe. And it was duplicated, and I told Terry and my staff, number one, they're in your APs because they're coming up in September, but that should never happen. An ACH payment should never be done without board approval, and I did that twofold, for obviously the board to see, but for Howard to see. And then I recreated a check, a write-off, a sign-off when it is paid, that it's not duplicated again. So it has not, in the August reconciliations, those two transactions, the $495 and the $56.83, were not checked off on reconciliations because they were not approved by the board. You just did that now, but I just wanted you to see what had happened, and it'll never happen again.
Right, we had this on duplicate payments, and there's the corrective action.
Right. And Waste Management too is asking to be, which we haven't gotten a bill from Waste Management since June. And I did get the bills today, and they are so screwed up. They're $3,000 higher than they normally are. Our tonnages are off, because I wanted to update that sheet that we're working on with budget. So we do have a problem, not in unauthorized payments, but in the Waste Management bill, it's $3,000 or $4,000 a month higher than it was in previous months. So I've got, as soon as I get that, I'll get you all the information on that, because I want you to see what they sent me and what has been done in the past, because and they never mailed them. They said, well, when are we expect payments? And it's like, we don't have them, and they don't have it in the format. I want to see And I'm sure the board wants to see all the problems and what they've resolved, because it's gotta be 10 pages long on each month, you know? So, just so you know, there is an issue with waste management. We're not holding those bills, we just got them, because Attorney Macy's very anal about, like, say, if I would never hold a bill, I would give it to the board, and if the board says we want more documentation, but I just got the bill today, and it's like, what is, so we're back and forth. There is a problem there, but not your problem.
At least not now. Well, we
Right.
have other problems with waste management, but
Right.
this will add to the stack.
Yes.
Okay, we're on ACH, so looking for approval of ACH payments of 113,404.31?
Yes.
Is there a motion? People see that? Whoops. I lost my, it's on the floor, now it needs to be sanitized or something. People should be in color coded too. Well, that board packet was 336 pages last I looked. Yeah, it's in the financials.
Run across that blank form today. Hey, whilst I'm scrolling through this, can you, see if we can't put these documents in the copier straight? So many of them are,
This packet in three, because it was 300 and some pages long. Well, we'll have to split it maybe in 4 or 5.
how does that affect?
Oh, when you, when you're trying to stuff this many, yeah, they don't suck through nice, so we'll make sure we put them in smaller batches.
Oh, okay. I got it. I know, I've seen this before. So our total ACH approval is $113,404.31.
That is correct, sir.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. In your packet, accounts receivable aging report and August financial reports for your information. Minutes. There's no discussion on those items. Minutes, August 11th, 2021.
In the table?
Yeah, I would like to table those. The Plan Commission tabled them, and I think revisions were made, but I did not.
And Jim, look at that. Look at that, because I added your sentence, but I just wanted to make sure you look at it the way you want it to be.
Actually, you did it the way I want it to be, not necessarily how I said it, but I was happy with how you wrote it.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see them in, not just that
Fine.
one that we talked about.
Right. You're
But-
seeing them in succession now, they're growing, and
Yeah, yeah.
we're still waiting. Still waiting.
You pointed at me.
I got the document number.
Oh, that one. Okay, sure. So if we could, let's table.
Yes.
Wait. we could table the August 11th Village Board and Plan Commission meeting minutes, and we'll get, so I can have a chance to look, Jim and I need to look at those.
Yeah.
We should probably, the Plan Commission should pass those first, and then send them.
Really?
Send them
Do
to
this
the
by
door.
consensus?
By consensus
Yeah.
table. Good, now we're on August 31st, Village Board and Finance Workshop meeting. Is there a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. September 2nd, 2021 Village Board. I did have some changes, which I think they were made.
Yes. And the track changes are in front of the village board.
Not much, you know, we got typos and stray words.
Board
and-
should have the contract, and
Right,
not huge changes.
not huge changes. So you'll see them in track changes. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes, September 2nd.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to September 7th, 2021 Village Board and Finance Committee Workshop. Is there a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Announcements, next meeting dates, I'll read them. Village Board and Finance, September 21. Village Board, meeting with the Village of Waukesha, and the Waukesha Board on September 23rd in Waukesha, Village of Waukesha, which is up on Center Drive, at 6:30 a.m. Our workshop on the 21st is at night, 6:30 p.m. So 6:30 p.m. up in Waukesha, 6:30 p.m. here on the 21st. Our regular board meetings in October, 7 and 21, 7 p.m. Plan Commission, 7 p.m.
Just plain.
Just Plan Commission.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I knew it.
I'll second.
Waited, somebody wanted to.
I'll second his second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.